Dr. Sarah Chen stood before the holographic display, her hands trembling as she reviewed the data for the 100th time. The laboratory around her was silent save for the soft hum of quantum processors working to decode the alien transmission. What she had discovered would change humanity forever, and not in the way anyone had expected. 3 months ago, humanity had celebrated its first contact with alien life. The Galactic Council's envoys had arrived in sleek ships that defied physics as we knew it, promising friendship and guidance to Earth's newest spacefaring civilization. They spoke of peace, of sharing knowledge, of helping humanity join the greater galactic community. The world had rejoiced, but Sarah had noticed something wrong. It started with small inconsistencies in the genetic samples the Council had shared. Subtle markers that shouldn't have been there. Signs of manipulation so ancient they had become part of the base code of human DNA. Working in secret, she had cross-referenced the samples with historical genetic data, and what she found shook her to her core. "Director Matthews," she called out, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "I need you to see this." The director of the Global Science Initiative walked into the lab, his weathered face illuminated by the blue glow of the holographic displays. "What have you found, Dr. Chen?" Sarah pulled up a complex genetic map, highlighting specific sequences. "These markers, they're not natural. They're artificial constraints, sir, placed there deliberately." She paused, letting the implications sink in. "And based on the decay rate, they've been there for at least 50,000 years. Matthews leaned closer, his eyes widening as he processed the information. "Are you saying?" "We've been engineered, sir. Limited. Someone has been manipulating human development since before recorded history." Sarah's voice grew stronger as she continued. "The Council didn't just find us. They've been watching us, controlling us." She brought up another display, this one showing brain activity patterns. "These neural pathways, they're suppressed, deliberately inhibited. We're operating at maybe 30% of our actual potential, and the technology the Council shared with us. It's not meant to help us advance. It's designed to maintain these limitations." Matthews sank into a nearby chair, the weight of the revelation evident in his posture. "How many people know about this?" "Just us for now. I wanted to be certain before." A sudden alarm cut through the air, its harsh tone echoing off the laboratory walls. Red warning lights began flashing throughout the facility. "Security breach in Section 7. An automated voice announced. Unknown energy signatures detected." Sarah's blood ran cold. Section 7 was where she kept her original research data. "They know," she whispered. Matthews was already moving, pulling her toward the emergency exit. "Get to the secure server room. Upload everything you found to the quantum archive. I'll buy you time." "Sir, they'll." "That's an order, Doctor. Humanity needs to know the truth." He pressed his security badge into her hand. "Go." Sarah ran, her heart pounding against her ribs. Behind her, she could hear the sound of energy weapons charging up, followed by the distinctive hum of Council technology. They had come to bury the truth. Racing through the corridors, she made it to the server room just as another explosion rocked the facility. Her fingers flew over the console, initiating the upload sequence. The progress bar seemed to move in slow motion as footsteps approached from the hallway. "Almost there," she muttered, watching the percentage climb. 85%, 90%, 95%. The door burst open in a shower of sparks. 2 Council enforcers stood in the doorway, their smooth, featureless masks reflecting the emergency lights. "Step away from the console, Dr. Chen," one of them commanded, its voice unnaturally smooth. Sarah's hand hovered over the final command key. "Why?" she demanded. "Why do this to us?" "Humanity is not ready for the truth," the enforcer stated. "You never were. Your species requires guidance, control. It is for your own protection." Sarah laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. "Protection? You mean imprisonment?" Her eyes darted to the progress bar. 99%. "This is your final warning, Doctor. Step away from." She slammed her hand down on the key. "Upload complete," the system announced, just as the enforcers raised their weapons. A blinding flash of energy filled the room. Sarah felt heat, then cold, then nothing at all. But she smiled as consciousness faded. The truth was out now, spreading through secure channels to resistance cells and independent research stations across the globe. Humanity would know what had been done to them, and humanity would not take it quietly. In the days that followed, the Council tried to contain the information, but it was too late. The data spread like wildfire through encrypted networks, from laboratory to laboratory, nation to nation. The genetic markers were confirmed independently dozens of times. The neural suppressions were documented, studied, and most importantly, understood. Humanity had been an experiment, carefully controlled and monitored for millennia. But experiments can go wrong. Test subjects can become aware. And humanity, as the Council was about to learn, had a long history of refusing to stay in its assigned place. In a secret facility deep beneath the Antarctic ice, Admiral James Rodriguez reviewed the data Dr. Chen had sacrificed herself to expose. Around him, the best minds Earth had to offer worked tirelessly to understand and break the chains that had bound humanity for so long. "They thought they could keep us down forever," he muttered, studying the complex genetic sequences. "They thought wrong." The first shots of humanity's rebellion had been fired in a quiet laboratory. The next would shake the very foundations of galactic society. Earth was about to show the Council exactly why they had been so afraid of humanity's potential in the first place. The war for human freedom was about to begin. 6 months after Dr. Chen's sacrifice, the Antarctic facility had transformed from a research station into humanity's last, best hope. Admiral Rodriguez stood in the Central Command Center, surrounded by holographic displays showing the progress of Project Liberation. The room hummed with activity as scientists and military personnel worked together with unprecedented unity. "Sir, you need to see this," called Dr. Maya Patel, her dark eyes bright with excitement. She had been working on decoding the neural suppressions discovered in Chen's research. "We've done it. We've found a way to break through the barriers." Rodriguez moved to her station, studying the complex neural maps on her screen. "You're certain?" "Absolutely." Maya pulled up a simulation showing neural pathway activation. The Council's suppression works by inhibiting specific synaptic connections, but we've discovered that human consciousness is far more adaptable than they anticipated. We can create new pathways around their blocks. "What's the catch?" Rodriguez asked, knowing there had to be one. Maya's expression grew serious. "It's dangerous. The process of breaking through the suppressions could kill the subject. And even if it succeeds, we don't know exactly what abilities might emerge. We're talking about accessing parts of the human brain that have been dormant for 50,000 years." Rodriguez nodded slowly. "How many volunteers would you need for the first trial?" "Sir, you can't be suggesting." "How many, Doctor?" Maya swallowed hard. "1. But Admiral, the risk." "I volunteer." Rodriguez's voice was firm. "If we're asking others to take this risk, I need to go first." Before Maya could protest further, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Lieutenant Sarah Foster burst into the command center, her face pale. "Admiral, we have Council ships entering the atmosphere. They found us." Rodriguez straightened, years of military training taking over. "How many?" 3 warships, sir. Standard Council enforcement pattern. Time to impact. 20 minutes, maximum." Rodriguez turned to Maya. "Doctor, how long does your procedure take?" 15 minutes for the initial phase, but sir, we haven't even tested." "We're out of time for testing." He turned to Foster. "Lieutenant, initiate Protocol Omega. Get everyone non-essential to the evacuation points. And warm up our surprise for our Council friends." Foster nodded sharply and began issuing orders. Throughout the facility, people moved with practiced efficiency, the result of countless drill sessions. Deep beneath the ice, experimental weapons powered up. humanity's first attempts at reverse engineering council technology. In the medical bay, Maya worked with frantic precision, attaching neural interfaces to Rodriguez's temples. "This will hurt," she warned. "A lot." "Just do it," Rodriguez ordered, strapping himself into the medical chair. "We need every advantage we can get." Maya initiated the sequence. Rodriguez's body went rigid as electricity coursed through his neural pathways, breaking through barriers that had existed since before recorded history. He screamed, a sound of pure agony that echoed through the medical bay. 10 minutes later, the facility shook as the first council weapons struck their defensive shields. Maya watched the progress indicators with growing anxiety. "Sir, we need to stop. The strain on your system." "No." Rodriguez's voice was strained but determined. "Keep going." Another explosion rocked the facility. 5 minutes to shield failure, the automated system announced. "Admiral," Foster's voice came over the comm. "Council ships are beginning their final approach. Our weapons are ready, but without the shields." Rodriguez couldn't respond, his body convulsing as the procedure continued. Maya watched in horror as his vital signs spiked dangerously. "Come on," she whispered. "Come on." With 30 seconds left in the procedure, the shields failed. The sound of council weapons powering up filled the air. In the command center, Foster prepared to give the order to fire their experimental weapons, knowing they might not be enough. Then Rodriguez's eyes snapped open. The neural interfaces exploded as power surged through them. Rodriguez sat up, his movements unnaturally smooth. His eyes glowed with an inner light, and the air around him seemed to ripple with energy. "Sir," Maya asked hesitantly, "how do you feel?" Rodriguez smiled, but there was something different about his expression, something that spoke of power long denied. "I feel awake. For the first time in my life, I feel truly awake." He stood, walking to the command center with steady steps despite the facility's continued shaking. Foster stared at him in shock as he entered. "Admiral." "Hold our fire, Lieutenant." Rodriguez raised his hand toward the main view screen, where the council ships loomed. "Let me try something." The air crackled with energy. Outside, the council ships suddenly stopped, caught in an invisible grip. Their weapons powered down. Their engines failed. 3 of the most advanced warships in the galaxy, held in place by the power of a single human mind. "Impossible," Maya whispered, checking her readings. "The power output, it's off the charts." Rodriguez's voice was calm, but carried an edge of steel. "Open a channel to the council ships." When the connection was established, he spoke with quiet authority. "This is Admiral James Rodriguez of Earth. Your suppressions have failed. Your control is broken. And this is just the beginning." He turned to Maya, his eyes still glowing with unleashed power. "How soon can you reproduce the procedure?" "For other subjects. A few hours, now that we know it works." Rodriguez nodded. "Begin immediately. Select volunteers only. People we trust. It's time humanity remembered who we really are." He looked back at the helpless council ships. "And it's time the galaxy learned what humanity can do when we break our chains." The revolution had begun, but breaking physical chains was only the first step. The real war, the war for humanity's future, was just beginning. And the council was about to learn that their greatest experiment had become their worst nightmare. The captured council ships hung in Earth's orbit like trophies of war, their sleek hulls reflecting starlight. Inside the lead vessel, Admiral Rodriguez and Dr. Maya Patel worked to decrypt the ship's vast database. Around them, a team of newly awakened humans, their neural suppressions removed, used their enhanced abilities to interface directly with alien technology. "Look at this," Maya called out, her fingers dancing over holographic controls. "There are records of other species, dozens of them, all subjected to the same suppressions as humanity." Rodriguez moved to her station, studying the data streams. After his awakening, understanding alien technology had become almost instinctive. They've been doing this for millions of years, creating controlled experiments across the galaxy. Sir, Lieutenant Foster's voice came through the comm. We're detecting an unusual energy signature. Something's coming out of faster than light travel, but it's not Council technology. Rodriguez closed his eyes, extending his enhanced senses into space. I feel them. They're different, ancient. A ship emerged from the darkness of space, its design unlike anything humanity had seen before. Where Council ships were sleek and uniform, this vessel was organic, almost alive, with patterns that seemed to shift and flow across its surface. We're being hailed, Foster reported. Rodriguez nodded. Put them through. The holographic display flickered to life, revealing a being that made everyone in the room catch their breath. It was tall and ethereal, with crystalline features and eyes that held the wisdom of aeons. When it spoke, its voice resonated with harmonics that seemed to touch the soul. I am Kythera of the Kytheri, the being announced. We have watched and waited, hoping that one day a species would break free. You have done what we could not. You're not with the Council, Rodriguez stated, sensing the truth in the being's words. We are their greatest failure, and their oldest enemies. Kythera's form shimmed with barely contained energy. We were the first species they attempted to suppress, but they could not fully control us. Instead, they drove us into hiding, forced us to watch as they enslaved galaxy after galaxy. Maya stepped forward. Why didn't you fight back? We tried, countless times over millions of years, but alone we could not overcome their power. We needed allies, species with the strength and will to break free of their constraints. We needed humanity. Rodriguez studied the ancient being. You've been watching us. Yes, we saw your potential, even through the suppressions. Your adaptability, your determination, your ability to innovate even when limited. When we detected the first signs of neural awakening, we knew the time had finally come. The Admiral's enhanced mind raced with possibilities. How many others are out there? Other species who might join us? Kythera's expression brightened. Many. The Zarkai, whose suppressed psychic abilities rival your own. The Nexus Collective, masters of biological engineering before the Council trapped them in primitive forms. The Void Dancers, who once could manipulate the fabric of space itself. And they're all waiting to break free, Maya whispered, understanding dawning in her eyes. They are waiting for hope, Kythera corrected, which you have now given them. But time is short. The Council knows their control is slipping. They will not wait for more species to awaken. As if to emphasize the point, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. Foster's voice was tense as she reported. Multiple Council fleets detected entering the system. Hundreds of ships, sir. This isn't an enforcement action. It's an extermination fleet. Rodriguez turned to Kythera. Can your people fight? We have preserved technology from before the Council's rise. But more importantly, we have knowledge. Knowledge of how to awaken other species, how to break the chains that bind them. Together, we might stand a chance. The Admiral nodded sharply. Lieutenant Foster, send word to all Earth defense stations. Deploy the awakened teams. Dr. Patel, begin transmitting Dr. Chen's research on neural suppression removal to the Kytheri ship. And you, Admiral? Maya asked. Rodriguez stared out at the approaching Council fleet, his enhanced mind already formulating strategies. I'm going to buy us time. Kythera, can your ship's communications reach the suppressed species? Yes, but... Then show them this. Rodriguez raised his hand, and one of the captured Council ships rose in space, its metal groaning as forces beyond normal physics bent it to his will. With a gesture that should have been impossible, he tore the massive vessel in half. Show them that the chains can be broken. Show them that the Council can be defeated. Show them that the time for freedom has come. His eyes glowed with power as he turned to the Kytheri leader. And then show them how to fight back. Kythera's crystalline form pulsed with energy. We will need time to awaken and organize the others. The Council's fleet. will be occupied with us, Rodriguez finished. Humanity has been waiting for a fight like this for a very long time. We just didn't know it until now. As the Council fleet approached, Earth's defenses powered up. Around the planet, thousands of humans who had undergone the awakening procedure stood ready, their combined power creating distortions in space itself. They were outnumbered, facing an enemy with millions of years of technological advancement. But humanity had something the Council had never expected. The power of choice, of free will, of determination unleashed. And they were about to remind the galaxy why their potential had been suppressed for so long. The real war was about to begin. Not just for Earth's freedom, but for the liberation of countless species across the galaxy. The Council had created an experiment in control, but they were about to learn a harsh lesson about the uncontrollable nature of the human spirit. Space itself seemed to bend and twist as the Council's extermination fleet approached Earth. 300 ships strong, each vessel bristling with weapons that could reduce continents to ash. Against them stood Earth's defenders, 60 awakened humans on captured Council ships, thousands more on the surface, and a single ancient Kithiri vessel. Admiral Rodriguez stood on the bridge of his commandeered ship, his enhanced mind reaching out to coordinate with every human defender. Beside him, Kithira's crystalline form pulsed with nervous energy. They both knew what was at stake, not just Earth's survival, but the hope of every suppressed species in the galaxy. Council fleet is entering weapons range, Lieutenant Foster reported from her station. They're demanding our immediate surrender. Send them our response, Rodriguez ordered. Foster smiled grimly as she transmitted the message they had prepared. A detailed breakdown of the Council's genetic manipulation program, broadcast on all frequencies across the galaxy. The truth, at last, exposed to every species under Council control. The Council fleet's response was immediate and devastating. Energy weapons powerful enough to crack planets lashed out, filling space with deadly light. But humanity was no longer bound by normal physics. Rodriguez raised his hand, and dozens of awakened humans joined their power with his. Space itself condensed between the fleets, forming a barrier that bent the Council's weapons back upon themselves. 3 enemy ships vanished in explosions that rippled through subspace. Now, Rodriguez commanded. Earth's defenders struck back. 60 humans, their minds unleashed from millennia of suppression, reached out with powers that defied conventional science. Council ships found their weapons turning against them, their hulls crumpling under psychic pressure, their crews suddenly unable to perceive their own controls. But the Council had not maintained control of the galaxy for millions of years without learning to adapt. From their flagship, they deployed their ultimate weapon, a massive device that began generating waves of neural suppression energy, attempting to reimpose humanity's ancient chains. The device, Kithira warned, it's similar to what they used against my people. If it succeeds, it won't, Maya interrupted. She had been working with the Kithiri, combining their ancient knowledge with humanity's newfound powers. Because we have something they never expected. She activated the transmitter they had prepared. Across Earth's surface, thousands of humans who had undergone the awakening procedure joined their minds in a single purpose. The power of their combined consciousness surged through the Kithiri ship's ancient technology, amplified and focused into a beam of pure mental energy. The Council's suppression device shattered, its fragments spinning away into space. But the effort had cost them. Dozens of awakened humans collapsed, their minds burned out by the strain. Second wave incoming, Foster shouted. The Council fleet split into attack formations, launching waves of automated drones. These machines, unburdened by organic limitations, moved with impossible speed. They sliced through Earth's defensive line, destroying 3 of humanity's captured ships in seconds. Rodriguez gritted his teeth, blood running from his nose as he strained to coordinate their defense. We need more time. The Kithiri transmissions are being received, Kithira assured him. The Zarkei have already begun breaking free. The Nexus Collective is awakening. but they need time to organize, though. An explosion rocked their ship as a council drone slipped through their defenses. Warning sirens blared as systems began failing throughout the vessel. Hull breach in sections 3 through 7, Foster reported. We're losing power to the main engines. Maya looked up from her console, her face pale. Admiral, the Kithiri ship's transmitter is damaged. We can't reach the other species. Rodriguez made a decision. Everyone off the ship, get to the backup positions. Sir, Foster questioned. That's an order, Lieutenant. Dr. Patel, get the Kithiri to safety. I'll handle this. Maya's eyes widened as she realized what he planned. James, no. The power required to maintain the transmission alone would kill you. Maybe. He smiled sadly. But we didn't come this far to fail now. Earth will have its chance. The galaxy will have its chance. Before anyone could stop him, Rodriguez reached out with his enhanced mind, connecting directly with the ship's systems. His consciousness merged with the Kithiri technology, using his own neural energy to power the transmitter. The evacuation pods launched, carrying his crew to safety. Rodriguez stood alone on the bridge, his body beginning to glow with power as he took on the full burden of maintaining contact with the suppressed species. Through the view screen, he watched the battle rage. Earth's defenders were fighting with everything they had, but the Council's superior numbers were slowly pushing them back. They needed more time, just a little more time. Rodriguez closed his eyes, pushing his power to its limits and beyond. His message reached across the stars, touching the minds of countless beings who had lived too long in chains. Rise up. Remember who you are. You are not alone. You are not weak. You are not meant to be controlled. Rise up and take back your destiny. His body began to burn from within as he channeled more power than any human was meant to contain. But in his last moments, he felt it. The first stirrings of revolution across the galaxy. Species after species awakening, breaking free, remembering their true strength. The Council had fought to extinguish humanity's flame. Instead, that flame was about to ignite an inferno that would burn their empire to ashes. As consciousness faded, Rodriguez smiled. They had needed a spark to light the fire of revolution. He was happy to burn bright enough to provide it. The sacrifice of Admiral Rodriguez became the catalyst that changed the galaxy forever. His final transmission, powered by his own life force, reached across the stars, awakening suppressed species that had slumbered under Council control for millions of years. But the price of revolution would be paid in fire and blood. Maya Patel stood on the bridge of the last Kithiri vessel, watching as the galaxy erupted in rebellion. The holographic displays showed hundreds of worlds where ancient species were breaking free of their chains. The Zarkai, with their newly awakened psychic powers, seized control of entire Council fleets. The Nexus Collective, remembering their mastery of biological engineering, transformed their own bodies into living weapons. The Void Dancers took control of space itself, creating corridors through reality that allowed rebel forces to strike anywhere in Council territory. The Council is falling back to their core systems, Lieutenant Foster reported, her voice tight with emotion. They had all felt Rodriguez's death, a psychic shock that rippled through the awakened humans. They're abandoning their outer territories. They're gathering their strength, Kthira warned, the ancient being's crystalline form pulsing with worried energy. The Council's inner sanctum holds weapons and technologies they've hoarded for millions of years. They'll use everything they have left to maintain control. Maya nodded, studying the tactical displays. The Council had ruled through careful manipulation, keeping species isolated and suppressed. But now that control was shattered, and the response was beyond anything they could have predicted. Every awakened species brought unique abilities and technologies to the rebellion. The Zarkai's psychic powers complemented human abilities. The Nexus Collective's biological mastery helped break the genetic suppressions on other races. The Void Dancer's space warping powers provided mobility that even the Council couldn't match. They never understood, Maya said softly. The Council spent millions of years trying to prevent cooperation between species, but by suppressing us all in similar ways, they gave us common cause. Every species they enslave becomes another ally in their destruction. A sudden alert caught their attention. Foster's eyes widened as she read the incoming data. Multiple quantum signatures detected. Massive Council fleet emerging from hyperspace. They're heading for Earth. Maya's heart clenched. Of course, the Council would try to crush the source of the rebellion, to make an example of humanity. The tactical displays showed over 1,000 Council ships, including massive vessels that had never been seen before. This is it, Thera said. Their final gambit. They mean to destroy your world, to break the spirit of the rebellion. Maya straightened, channeling the strength that Rodriguez had shown in his final moments. Contact all Allied forces. Earth needs help. The response was immediate and overwhelming. From across the galaxy, newly awakened species sent their ships toward Earth. The Zarkai battle meditation clusters, the living ships of the Nexus Collective, the reality-bending vessels of the Void Dancers, all converging to defend the world that had shown them freedom was possible. The Council fleet arrived first, their weapons powered to planet-killing levels. But Earth was ready. The awakened humans had learned from Rodriguez's sacrifice, joining their powers in ways that even the Kithiri hadn't thought possible. As the Council ships opened fire, space itself seemed to reject their attacks, their energy weapons dissolving into harmless light. Then the Allied fleet arrived. It was chaos unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Zarkai psychics turned Council crews against each other. Nexus collective bioships released clouds of nanites that ate through enemy hulls. Void Dancers created tiers in space that swallowed Council vessels whole. And through it all, humanity's awakened defenders coordinated the assault, their enhanced minds linking the Allies into a single, unstoppable force. The Council's fleet, for all its power, had never faced anything like this. Their carefully maintained order was being overcome by the chaotic creativity of a dozen species fighting together, each contributing their unique strengths to the battle. But the Council had one final weapon. From their flagship emerged a massive device, ancient beyond reckoning. As it activated, reality itself began to warp. It's a solar manipulator. Cthulhu gasped. They mean to make your sun go nova. Maya's mind raced. Even with all their combined powers, they couldn't stop a solar explosion. Unless... The Void Dancers, she said suddenly. Their space warping abilities. If we could combine that with human psychic power and Zarkai battle meditation. Cthulhu's crystalline form brightened as understanding dawned. Yes, a quantum fold, redirecting the solar energy. Maya opened her mind, connecting with every awakened human in the system. Everyone, listen carefully. We have one chance. What followed would be remembered for generations as the miracle of Sol. As the Council's device began to destabilize Earth's sun, the combined powers of a dozen species reached out. Human and Zarkai psychics linked minds with hundreds of Void Dancers. Reality folded in ways that defied physics. The solar energy that should have destroyed Earth was caught, channeled, and redirected. The Council flagship vanished in an explosion that lit up half the galaxy. In the aftermath, as the surviving Council ships fled or surrendered, Maya stood at the command center on Earth, surrounded by representatives of species that had been enemies mere days ago. The holographic displays showed the collapse of Council authority across the galaxy as more and more species broke free of their ancient suppressions. What happens now? Foster asked, looking at the assembled aliens. Cthulhu stepped forward, its crystalline form glowing softly. Now we build something new. Not an empire of control, but an alliance of equals. Each species contributing their strengths, supporting each other's growth. Maya nodded, thinking of Rodriguez's sacrifice. The Terran Alliance, she said, in honor of the world that showed the galaxy that chains can be broken. The assembled representatives agreed. The Council had spent millions of years suppressing species to prevent cooperation. In the end, that suppression had created the very unity they had feared. The galaxy was entering a new age, one of freedom, cooperation, and unlimited potential. Humanity had broken its chains. In doing so, they had freed the galaxy. And now, together with their new allies, they would forge a future that even the ancient council had never dared to imagine. The experiment was over. The true story of the galaxy was about to begin.